I said I'd never do this. As a hobby, audio is full of rabbit holes and cans of worms. There are so many tweaks, customizations and synergies to consider. I didn't need any more, but then this showed up. The FiiO TT13 was interesting enough to tempt me into revisiting vinyl for the first time in more than 20 years. Let me tell you if I think it's good enough for you to be tempted too. First things first, the TT13 from FiiO is a fully automatic belt drive turntable for $240. What that means is that you can press a button and it will start and stop playback for you. It will even repeat the album at the end if you want it to. Of course, that means you'll keep hearing side A or side B over and over, but the feature's there if you want it. To add to the temptation, the TT13 also has a remote control and Bluetooth transmission, so you can play your records over here and listen over there using a portable Bluetooth product like a BTR-17 and your favourite pair of headphones or earphones, or via a full-size hi-fi system with speakers. If this isn't a vinyl gateway drug, I don't know what is. One of the hurdles that you sometimes have to overcome if you're thinking about getting into vinyl is that you often have to think about things like phono preamps that sit between your turntable and the amplifier that drives your speakers. The TT13 takes care of that for you with a built-in phono preamp. If you're wondering what all that means, the simple explanation is that the needle on your turntable bounces around inside the tiny grooves on the record and creates little tiny vibrations. Those vibrations aren't very strong, and so they need extra amplification in order for your speaker amplifier to get meaningful levels of volume out of what's come off the record. A phono preamp takes care of that initial amplification so that what your speaker amp receives at the other end is something more like what it would get from a CD player, a streamer, or a DAC that's converted some other signal. And so what all that means is the FiiO TT13 comes ready to plug in directly to whatever your existing amplifier is. What it also means is that you can't use a different phono preamp. For some people that's a relief. For other people, that's a severe limitation. It means the TT13 is a wonderful gateway drug for those looking to get into vinyl, but it also means it's got a tightly defined ceiling of just how high it can take you. But let's get back to the features and functions of the TT13 as it is. Is this a product that you should consider if you want to dabble in vinyl, or even if you want to get a bit serious about it? Let's find out. One of the challenges with revisiting vinyl in the 2020s is that we have access now to some fantastic digital audio products and digital streaming services. The reason that's a problem in relation to vinyl is that it makes accessing thousands of albums in high quality very, very affordable. If you go down the path of vinyl, there's a lot more to consider. When I started testing the TT13, I decided to go out and buy 3 albums that I knew well and that I had digital copies of. Here we go, jazz. Let's have a look at jazz. Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Not what I would have thought of as jazz. It's a classic, maybe. My shopping trip resulted in copies of Miles Davis' All Blues, Bernard Fanning's Tea and Sympathy, and Led Zeppelin's untitled 4th album on clear vinyl. Listening to these albums on the TT13 revealed a big issue, but not with the TT13. The TT13 is wonderful. The automatic functions are great. It comes with a nice entry-level needle or cartridge or stylus if you want to use the correct terminology. The included cartridge is an AT3600LA. The belt drive motor seems to be smooth and consistent for a turntable at this level, and the resulting sounds seem to be as clear as vinyl at this level could be. In other words, there's no background noise other than the occasional faint crackle or pop from the needle going over dust in the grooves of the vinyl. On top of that, the technical shortcomings of vinyl as a medium actually deliver some really pleasing sonic character to the sound of the TT13. The treble is a bit smoother and easier on the ears than it might be from a similarly priced digital setup. The reduced channel separation between your left and your right channels results in a more substantial and solid feeling central image in the music. All in all, the sound from the TT13 is very enjoyable. My 4-year-old son helped me with some of this testing, and he consistently said that he preferred the sound coming from the vinyl, even though he often didn't know which one was playing. He also really enjoyed the process of putting on a record, far more than just asking some digital assistant to play a track. This all seems rosy and wonderful, doesn't it? I wish it were. But let's get back to the issue I mentioned before. And it's actually more than one issue, but they're tightly related. Those 3 records that I bought, plus a basic record cleaning brush, cost me about 220 Australian dollars. That's about 140 US dollars. Break that down and we're spending about 30 to 40 US dollars per album. Compare that to a Tidal or Cobra subscription for around about $10 or $11 per month. That's going to give you access to every single album and track in their entire library, and we start to see the beginning of the issue here. I hear you though, playing a record on a record player is so much more of a ceremony than just putting on an album on Tidal. It does connect you more physically with the medium and the listening experience. It's a more considered decision. That would all be well and good if they sounded the same, or near enough to the same, accounting for the different delivery systems. The problem is that of those 3 expensive albums that I bought as vinyl, only one of them sounds as good or better than the digital version that I can get through Cobras. So yes, the TT13 turntable from FiiO is fantastic as an entry-level turntable. Its tonal character is quite neutral to whatever's on that vinyl disc. It seems to reproduce a good level of detail, clarity, imaging and tonality for an entry-level turntable, or maybe even a bit above. But so much depends on the quality of the pressing of that particular album, that vinyl disc, that it's hard to say much more. The TT13's features and functions are an absolute joy to live with if you want to live with vinyl. But that's the question for me. Do you want to live with vinyl? My short time revisiting the medium says, no, it's not for me. I don't like spending a small fortune on albums only to find that they sound thin and brittle. That's how these pressings of Tea and Sympathy and Led Zeppelin's untitled 4th album sound when I compare them between the vinyl I bought and the digital versions on Cobras. Or actually, in the case of the Led Zeppelin album, both the vinyl and the digital sound as mediocre as each other. But I didn't pay for the digital copy of Led Zeppelin's untitled album. I've just got access to it because I've got a subscription to Cobras and Tidal. And so if an album sounds bad on one of those, I can search for a different master of it, or I can just go listen to something else. I'm recording a podcast these days with my cousin Nick, and we're talking about his journey into vinyl and becoming an audiophile, or becoming a more active audiophile as well. And he's being very targeted with his choice of albums, which it seems is very important, as I've learnt here. If that appeals to you, I totally get it. Nick is having a great time doing that. And if you want to take that approach, the FiiO TT13 is a fantastic product to do it with. It's easy to use, it sounds great, and it has some excellent features like the remote control and the Bluetooth transmission. It might not grow very far with you due to the limitations of having the onboard phono stage, but if you're looking to test the vinyl waters, the FiiO TT13 is a no-brainer. And so I'll put some links down below where you can pick up the TT13 for yourself if you're interested, and I'll also put a link down below to the podcast in case you want to come along the journey with us as you play with your TT13 perhaps. Come along with us and learn what Nick has discovered along the way about choosing the right vinyl records, learn about what he's discovering as he builds his system, and hear a bit more from me about why I'm choosing not to go down that path. Or of course you can just search for The Groove Pod on your favourite podcast app. In the meantime, this video up here will be the most relevant video for you at this place in your audiophile journey, so watch that one next. But for now, thank you to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you who leave super thanks on videos like this one. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.